Welcome to the Round 6 podcast for Captain Hindsight for the SC Hub. My name is Rob, better known as Monster Mash in the Discord, here with some stats and advice for your armband choices for Round 6 for NRL SuperCoach. The season has continued to be a little bit up and down with some unexpected names coming to the forefront. As a lot of people are saying, year of the front row forward is continuing strong. But we roll on again with our choices and how things are going to go with scoring, and we'll dive into that shortly. Before we do, for anyone that's not done so already, please like and subscribe and join the Discord. It very much helps the channel. It helps us get the content to you guys, the listeners who support us. So we thank you for that. But the main thing is, like and subscribe, comment. It very much helps us out. So we'll dive right in. Last week, our choices for the captaincy armbands, we had the VC on Nathan Cleary, who pumped out a 94. He certainly got lucky with some updates there with initial scores looking in the mid 70s. He then updated to 94, so that was a respectable return. But we had the C on Payne Haas, who ended up pumping out his lowest score of the year, thanks to some strong Tigers defense. I was at that game at Suncorp actually, so it was a little bit disappointing to see him pump that live. But look, we have to ride the ups and downs when it comes to the armbands with SuperCoach. Top scorer for the week, I don't think anyone would have picked it, was Grant Anderson with the 134. It's just, 133, my mistake. It's just, a ridiculous score with the Storm pumping Manly, almost putting 50 points on them at 4 Pines. I don't think anyone saw that coming. The other big name we really did talk about last week was Clint Gutherson, who was only just behind him with the 130. So that's who I hope everybody else put their armbands on. He was a very strong choice, so I hope that's where you went. I personally didn't myself, but you win some, you lose some. So with those scores, that does put us at a captaincy average for 2025 at 81.6, which is respectable, but we certainly want to start seeing this, get much closer to the 90 plus, and even potentially up to the hundreds. But I don't know if we'll get there. But that's the aim. That's the aim. We want to go 100 plus, but I'll settle for 95 plus. That'd be ideal. Anyway, we'll dive into the choices now for this round. We've got a few that look. I think they're starting to get pretty obvious with the names now, but we'll cover them anyway, and I'll show you why these guys are the names at the top of most people's lists. We'll start off with Thursday night game. Nathan Cleary. He's, look, any game he plays, he's almost always an option. He has the ability to pump out a score against anyone, as we've said, week on week. However, there's a few things that stand out for me, and I would not go the captaincy on him at all. VC only for me, just due to a few things. So we can see here that his average against the Dolphins is 105. He has literally played them once. So he's played them once for a score of 105. So that is why that number is there. But the one thing that really stood out for me regarding this is that the Dolphins are currently the best defensive side for SuperCoach points against halfbacks. Now, they've not exactly played many teams that are got, headline halfbacks like Nathan Cleary. So that stat can be taken with a pinch of salt, as they say, and how we judge it. Look, the big score for Nathan is coming. I can feel it in my bones. I think we'll see something massive before Origin. It's just making sure you've got the armband on him, or at least a armband on him for when he does. And I think there could be a chance that we see it this week. The game's at Suncorp, so it is a dry track. We know it's good for scoring. And thanks to stats from our good friend SuperCoach Guns with his try map, we can see here the Dolphins have conceded 6 tries to their left edge, or to left wingers and left centers, I should say, 3 each, and then also 5 to right wingers. So if Nathan is not getting stuck at first receiver, and we see more of Yo in there, and Nathan's pushed out a little bit wider, I think we could see him getting some try assists and really pumping up that score this week. Though the one thing that I have a funny feeling that we could also see is I think the person that might benefit the most may be Dylan Edwards. And I think we could see a good score from him. So he's somebody I'll be looking at for things like my daily fantasy stuff. So yeah, wait and see. So that's why I'm thinking VC for Nathan and not the armband. I do like a VC on a Thursday night. So that leads us into the next option, a name that's been on in this podcast and video almost every week is Payne Haas. He has been close to the best player in SuperCoach this year, certainly the best front row forward, and you can see that from his average, a monster 95.2. He's been absolutely flying this year, and the thing to sort of look at is his score last week was his lowest, and that was due to the Tigers really wrapping him up. There was no tackle bust for Payne at all, and he only had 2 offloads. Now he's averaging close to 4 offloads a game for the rest of the games, and he's getting 6 and 7 tackle busts most games as a minimum as well. So if you look at it that way, that's pretty much 20 extra points at least for last week. That would put him into the 70s, which is a very respectable score. So he's really not that far off. And I expect going up against the Roosters, where he's already put a 104 on them this year, yeah, I think we might see him back up to his best that he's already shown this year. So if you're not wanting to go for the really high upside and want to make a safe play, I think Payne is the way to go. He's a safe option. He will be almost every week, and I think we'll see another very solid score from him again this week. Now, we'll go to the next option here, who I think will be one of the most popular choices for either armband this week. And look, he's the other guy that's been absolutely tearing it up in SuperCoach, and that is Clint Gutherson. His average for this year is over 100, which is frankly ridiculous. He's got 3 scores out of 4 over 100. So with if he keeps up this form and keeps up his involvement in the Dragons attack, he's just going to keep scoring monster scores. He's going to get try assists most games, if not multiple. And yeah, what more can I say? He's the guy that's applying the finishing touches for almost all of their attacks. So he's scoring those bulk SuperCoach points that we want to see for armbands. Now, he's up against the Gold Coast this week down at Wynn Stadium. Now, that is where he put up his massive 140 plus score. So are we going to see a new absolute stomping ground for Gutho at Wynn Stadium? We'll have to wait and see. But the thing that stood out for me against for the Gold Coast is they have conceded a lot of tries to middle players. Interesting enough, one of the worst teams for that. But they have also conceded 4 tries to left wing and left centre, where we know the Dragons like to attack with Val and Tui Pilotu. So the big question is, does Gutho capitalise? I'm backing him in. I think he will. So I definitely think he's a very strong VC and C option. We'll get into it a bit later, but I'd like him more as a C than a VC. And that's due to the ability for people to loop. Now, I know that the majority of people would probably be able to use somebody like a Tino or like a Tukey Simpkins for their nuff to use for looping purposes. And obviously, the Gold Coast are playing the Dragons. So that's something that I think people need to really strongly consider when you're going your VC. That's why I really like Nathan this week, is that, well, he's the one game before the Dragons. So, yeah, we've got to assess that as it is. Now, speaking of fullbacks, we're going to go into who I think will be the most popular captaincy this week, and it's hard to argue against. It really is, and that is my favourite player to watch, and that is Ryan Pappenhausen. The mullet, when it flies, there's not much better to watch in rugby league. Now, his average for the year is at 82.5, so a very respectable and very captainable average. But when he goes against the Warriors, it goes to the next level. His average against them is at 114.8, and he just scores tons against them for fun and has done for many years. Now, he hasn't played them too much due to those injuries that he suffered over the years. But we can see here, last score against them was a 132. The last two scores before that were 155 and 126. So he just destroys them. Now, if you look at the record for the Storm against according to Andrew Johns, their bogey team, the Warriors don't get much joy against the Storm at all. In fact, the Storm are just absolutely fly against them. Now, they are the team that have scored the most tries per game so far against anyone. We've also seen that with New Zealand, that they are conceding tries to their right centres and right wingers. So somebody like a Grant Anderson, I think we could see score another couple of tries again. And I'm backing Ryan Pappenhausen to deliver at least one try assist and potentially get a try himself. Now, the Storm are the team that have scored the most tries with fullbacks. So I'm backing Pappy in to score a monster score once again. I think we'll also see a few other good scores for players like Munster and Hughes as well. So that could taper a little bit of his upside down. I don't think we'll get a 155 unless he is just on fire. But I think we'll be still looking at hopefully a triple digit score. I'm thinking that's what we'll see. And with it being at 2:00 on a Sunday, I don't think there's many better options for Ryan Pappenhausen. He should be goal kicking while Wishart is not on the field. When Wishart is on the field, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take it back. But look, I think without Meany there, it's who gets the goal kicking when who's on the field is a little bit up in the air, but we shall see come Sunday. So that leads us to our choices for the armbands this week. And look, I don't think it's really any surprise from the way we've talked about it. It's going to be VC for Nathan Cleary into a C of Ryan Pappenhausen. I was really torn between the VC on Cleary and Gutho, but I think purely due to the fact that Nathan is playing on the Thursday, and I personally love the Thursday armband. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And I think that the way, if you were wanting to loop either him or Gutho, I think you'll be able to do it much, much easier with Nathan, due to the fact that a lot of people's loop players will likely be Titans. So that kind of rules out Gutho for me for VC, but obviously each team is individual. And if you can loop with somebody that is not a Titan, then I think Gutho is a very, very good VC and perhaps even better than Nathan. But you've got to weigh up and have a look to see what your loop options are this week, because it's going to be very, very important. You don't want to put the VC on Gutho for him to go 120 and then you can't loop him. That would be an absolute killer. So make sure that you check your looping options, because it'll be really key to determining who gets the VC armband. But I struggle to go past anyone other than Pappenhausen for the C. He edges Gutho for me, who, I once again couldn't really argue too much against people going the C. But I got to go with my man, Ryan Pappenhausen, for the Storm, hoping that they put up another big score against the Warriors. Anyway, that's where we'll leave it for this week. Once again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Put in the comments who you want to go with your armbands. If you've got some rogue options, I think this could be the week to do it. It's one of those ones where, while I think a lot of people will be on Pappenhausen, I'm kind of getting the vibe that there might be another couple of really big scores in there somewhere. Not sure where, but we shall see. It's going to be a tough one. But have a look at the weather, have a look at where teams are playing, because we've got games in Darwin this week. We've got games all over the place. I know there's Perth games coming up, if not this week already. So double check that. And jump in the Discord if you haven't either. It's great resource. And check out the other podcasts and the other videos that we have here on the channel. As I mentioned earlier, SC Guns has got the try map. I was watching the breakdown earlier tonight, and the guys there had some absolutely great chat. So check that out, and we'll catch you next week.